Framery also has their O model, which is designed to fit one person, comes in a variety of options, and for ours, we actually added some branding to the side. Yes, you do kind of feel like you're sitting in a fishbowl, but your team will thank you when they don't have to listen to you constantly rehearsing your weekly LinkedIn video.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present to you the wage cage. Just look at it. Just look at it. It's very progressive, isn't it? Ah, so progressive. Do you know how we can make it even more progressive? Put a rainbow flag on it. Put a rainbow flag on it and then it will be very progressive. Wasn't there a time when you would go to work and you would have these things called, I don't know, offices? I mean, you would go to work and you'd have like your own private space so that you can focus on, well, you know, work. But then apparently that was too costly and it was kind of difficult to spy on your employees if you're the corporate executive. So they came up with the idea of cubicles. But apparently cubicles also gives you too much privacy, way too much privacy. So they went with the idea of open offices. Notice how they don't really talk about the problem with infectious diseases in open offices. Funny how no one criticizes the companies. I mean, we're told that they're evil, but we're never told why. So yeah, open offices are a thing now, but apparently now it's back to privacy. So we're getting, I don't know, like something between a private office and privacy, because we can't just give the corporate drone his own private office. You might think that he's just as good as the HR lady or, heaven forbid, the salespeople. Those are the creme de la creme, the crop de la crop. No, the corporate drone still needs to know its place. So here comes the wage cage. Yes, progressive America, putting people in cages since before the Trump era. Welcome to This Week is Stupid of the 20th of December 2020. And I want to start with some actual good news for people who are from California now, of course. I would like to point out that you are finally allowed by the government to go out and date outdoors. So if you're from California now, you're one of the lucky ones. In-person dating is no longer banned in San Francisco. Isn't that great news from the government? Isn't that great? How can you not like the government when the government gives you so much? So much. However, you can only date outdoors and you're not allowed to have double dates. Don't worry, the double dates will come. It's just not yet. Like eventually the government will give you more. All you have to do is to obey, pay your taxes, and be a good model citizen. And everything is going to be provided for you, okay? And but with great liberty also comes great responsibility. So make sure you wear a mask, but most importantly, no kissing. What type of monster would kiss at a date anyway? That's sexual harassment, so no kissing. You can, however, there is an exception to this, all right? You can kiss, but only if you move in together. So if you move in together, you can kiss, but you still have to wear a mask and you still are not allowed to double date. This is very important, right? So I'm pretty sure you're glad that you tuned into my channel in order to get more updates about your dating life. Again, this is only for the people in San Francisco, okay? They're the only ones that are being allowed. The rest of the world, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they feel lucky to live in such a progressive and forward-thinking place that allows them to date. And more importantly, and this is something that has moved me to tears, is that the people in power, the establishment of progressive California cares about your health. They can't sleep at night unless they know you're healthy. Which is why we had news like this in the past. Knowingly exposing others to HIV is no longer a felony in California. Now, this is highly progressive. This is very progressive. But to make sure that people understand what we're talking about, we're not talking about a person that passes AIDS without knowing. No, we're talking about the person that is fully aware they have AIDS and willingly passes it to another person without disclosing. The type of person that, goes into a bus and goes like, stick him with the needle, stick him with the needle. Tick, 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 tick. We actually had a person like that in Romania. Was in the newspapers. Apparently he didn't have AIDS, but he was a public menace. He was scaring people. It was a crime. Well, in California now, it's not a felony. It's still a crime, but it's a misdemeanor. It's a slap on the wrist. Basically like, stop it. It's like driving without a seatbelt. It's like littering. Okay? So, obviously, when the problems start rising, for example, something completely unrelated to this, when STDs in LA County are skyrocketing, officials think racismus and stigma is to blame. I bet you never thought about, did you? You know why you didn't think about that? Because you're not an official. Just stop thinking, okay? Your thinking is dangerous. Let the officials do the thinking for you. They're smart, they're educated, and most importantly, they are opinionated. Now, speaking of people that are opinionated, every now and then I need to make my own opinions, and it's a very difficult process because I can't really think for myself. No one teaches me how to think for myself, but a lot of people do teach me what to think. Some of these people are the lovely progressives at the Young Turks. Now, the reason that I like the Young Turks is that they always agree on everything. There's no debate, there's no discussion that can confuse me. They just tell me the correct way of thinking so I can internalize it. So why don't we watch the Young Turks together and we can experience this harmony and this tight-knit community that they have formed at their corporation.
When I saw the media acting like, oh yeah, ha, 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 it's over. Oh, Cenk, you're just being conspiratorial. No, Donald Trump believes in America. No, he's not going to go that far. No, I know and you don't, and I was right and they were wrong. So
which media?
Okay, you
which
think
media?
The media that
Cenk,
is now.
I watch the media all day. Literally,
Okay, Anna.
the moment I wake up, 5 in the morning, I'm up. And I'm watching the news nonstop until I'm on air for this show. So I want to know who you're talking about because clearly I'm missing it. All I hear 24/7 is like anti-Trump stuff, fear-mongering about Trump, okay? Like just the opposite of what you're referring to. So maybe I'm just not seeing what you're seeing. That's why I'm asking you which media.
You know what? I take that back. This is much better. This is far more interesting. Now we get to pick sides. It's like when you play the new Pokemon game and you can be Team Sword or Team Shield. I'm Team Anna. Team Anna Kasper. With that fiery passion and with facts and logic on her side, there's no way she can lose. Cenk is going to be BTFO'd by 2021. What do you guys think? Because I personally love this new IBS format that the Young Turks are running with. It's very beautiful. And I love to see journalists arguing with each other, especially when they're the same person. Like, for instance, if you guys remember back in the day in The Guardian, why Ivanka Trump's new haircut should make us very afraid. I love journalists. You know, they're people that are very, very afraid. And they want you to be afraid as well. I mean, look at their title. It's like, should make us afraid. Should make you afraid. You should be afraid. But then comes the controversy. The uproar over AOC's hair is a reminder that women cannot win under the patriarchy. I think she's an agent of the patriarchy. She infiltrated The Guardian as an agent of the patriarchy in order to subvert a very progressive publication. Now, I know this is from 1 year ago, but I just found out and I just want to call it out. Because it's not okay. It's not okay. I mean, look, the patriarchy has something against women's hair. This patriarchy cannot continue. It needs to be stopped.
So I have this thing, call it a little quirk, if you will. I have hair in my armpits. I have it there for a few reasons. 1, lazy. 2, the patriarchy. And 3, your response to them tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yes, that's right. Smash the patriarchy. Smash, 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 smash. But don't smash too much. Because if you smash too much, you end up like France. You see, in Paris, the feminists of old, and I'm talking about 2013, have managed to push for a very progressive legislation where people aren't allowed to hire a disproportionate amount of men in positions of power. And at the time, obviously, this was supposed to favor women. But it seems that in 2020, a mayor has hired far more women than she is allowed, and thus broke the feminist legislation, which she is now mocking. And I don't think the people at the BBC are capable of writing this article because they say too feminist. And it can't be too feminist because feminism is about equality. Equality is about 50-50. So when you say too feminist, you're saying too equal, which is incorrect. And as such, I think the BBC should make a retraction. But anyway, the mayor in Paris is mocking the feminist legislation, which is why I think that she's not a real feminist. I think she is just claiming to be a feminist in order to gain some public clout. And this is horrible. This needs to stop. She says that 11 women and 5 men had been promoted in 2018, breaching a national rule designed to bring about gender parity in employment. She is literally fighting against gender parity in employment. This is horrible. The Paris authorities have fined her $109,000. I am happy to announce that we have been fined. Look at her, happy to announce that she has broken legislation passed by feminists. The 2013 rule meant no more than 60% of new appointments to management positions in public service should go to one sex. Ms. Hidalgo's recruitment drive saw 69% of the jobs go to women. And she lies. She outright lies. Like, she looks into the camera, she smiles, and she lies. The management of the city hall all of a sudden became far too feminist. Well, no, that is incorrect. It actually is counter to feminism because it fights against the laws passed to have gender parity in employment. This is what I've been told by previous feminists. This is what I know, so this is the truth. You cannot change my mind. I have already been told the truth. Once the truth is being told, it remains there. Unless it's like in the Soviet Union. Do you want to hear a communist joke from behind the Iron Curtain? It goes like this. We know the future. The future is always bright. It's the past that is constantly changing. Now, if I was there as an advisor, I would have told her to simply state that the people doing this audit cannot accurately say that there are more women being hired than men because they do not know how these people identify. And in my opinion, all of them identify as non-binary. How will they debunk this? How will they disprove this? Sure, they will get angry. They will make a lot of hit pieces in the press. But at the end of the day, no one is going to step forward and provide a counter argument. So this would be the correct way of fighting this. Now, of course, a lot of people in the press will but again, they will not be able to say, this is why you're wrong, V. They might, however, tell me, this is why you need to shut up, V. Because you see, is just as offensive as using the R word. What is the R word, by the way? Radical, radish, radit. What? I've never heard about the R word. Again, Eastern European, me no speaking English. But apparently it's offensive. So offensive as a word that he can't really describe. But he can say re. Its origins trace back to a meme making fun of the sound an autistic person was making when overstimulated. Well, so that's why when you overstimulate the journalist, they make the R sound, right? Because if you can say the R word, I can say the R sound. Like that would be fine, right? If you use this in your emotes or everyday speech, please remove it. Together, we can stop ableist language. Well, I have a better idea. See, like people just come to me, they bring me problems, and I find solutions every single day. This is what I do. I'm a problem fixer, a fixer-upper. In order to stop ableist language, you need to stop language altogether, because a lot of things just come from language. Just a lot of tone policing, a lot of you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't express this, you can't express that. Hate Sprache, hate speech laws. I mean, look how many police officers have to police hate speech laws. We're going to go that in a little bit. But until then, you know, like, this is how much taxpayer money you would save if you put me in charge. Just forbid people from speaking. Everyone is going to be mute. And then racism will go away. I will save billions of dollars from taxpayer money all around the world if you can just prevent people from communicating with each other. All of this will just go away. But this is why no one wants to be in charge, because then all the NGOs are going to be out of a business. You're going to have journalists being out of a business. They can't communicate now. Okay, an entire profession gone. Yeah, but like, it's worth the price, I think. I think it's worth the price. In order to fight racism, people should not be able to communicate with one another. Prove me wrong. Show me a case of 2020 racism that if the people wouldn't have been speaking to each other, it would still exist. Because I can't think of a single one. I am willing to change my mind. You show me something from the newspaper, and you show, okay, look, this is racism. And then I will be like, okay, well, if the people would have stopped talking with each other, if they wouldn't communicate with each other, would it still exist? And if the answer is yes, you get to win. You win. But I don't think you can find something like this, which is why my solution is the best solution. Because look here, like this problem could have been avoided. In the United Kingdom, the Labour Party has finally, after all this time, they have finally passed a bill that criminalizes harassment, harmful communications, and related offenses bill that was in the works since 2017. And it's now named Coco's Law. And this is to make people be safer. So it criminalizes hate speech because this bill is in recognition of Coco's mother's determination to honor the memory of her daughter and to strengthen the law because Coco, after being subjected to online abuse, did self-harm and is no longer with us. So, in order to make sure that this doesn't happen, I think the Labour Party is inefficient. I think the Labour Party didn't go far enough. They need to ban all methods of communication. Because what if someone like Coco is going to hear something horrible in the playground or at school or in the private time? That's unacceptable. Like, think about these people that need our help. All communication needs to be banned. It needs to be uprooted from the world. Speaking is evil. When you're speaking, you're doing harm, no matter what you say. Someone somewhere might be harmed by what you say, so therefore, it needs to be enforced that all people are like that guy from The Silence of the Lambs. I mean, I know you're laughing, but you're not treating this problem seriously. All the evils of 2020, every single one of them that the press tells me about, have been done due to speech. People have been speaking and bad things happened. Like, look here, for example, this gentleman, university professor. One of the saddest things I have learned recently, students deciding against getting a PhD because they can't take the political correctness of academia anymore. And as you're reading through the replies, you see a lot of check marks saying, I'd rather folks who don't see their peers as fully human and deserving of equity not take up spots that could go to students who want to be better for the rest of the world. What is often disparaging as political correctness is simply telling people bigotry is wrong. I mean, just like try to close your eyes and understand what is being said here. There are people in academia who are going to become politicians, who are going to become lawyers, who do not see their peers, according to Jess Phoenix, as fully human. I don't want to live in a world where people do not see others as fully human. And therefore, speech needs to be banned. We can't risk it. We can't. What if someone just pretends to be politically correct while inside they do not see their peers as fully human? Ban speech. Hashtag ban speech. V2020. I think I might even win elections with this. Like, I would fix all the world's problems. I'm a problem fixer. I'm telling you this. You just need to come to my channel and get the solutions. Problem fixer V. The only problem that I have is getting more super chats. This is something that I can't fix. You know, maybe you guys can fix it for me. I'm such a smooth salesman. I'm like a snake. Like a snake that just oozes oil and is able to... I'm a good person in marketing as well. Huh? I get my own private office. I don't get the wage catch. I get to be on top with the HR and the other salespeople. I mean, look here, okay? Another problem. Someone spoke. Why did he speak? If he was quiet, less harm would have been done in the world. Speaking is the issue. Outrage, as Whole Foods CEO, says ignorance and poor choices causes obesity. So he describes how people choose to go and have fast food, to purchase popcorn, to purchase things that are unhealthy for them, and then they get fat. And because of this, the idea of someone suggesting that poor people can make decisions is not very progressive. And others were pointing out, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, the New York Times said, look, there are people who do not have access to places like Whole Foods where they can purchase properly and they can purchase healthy. And the CEO was saying, it's like, no, like we now opened places in impoverished neighborhoods and we look at the analytics, we look at the data, and people who are impoverished, they still purchase things that aren't healthy because it's tempting to have that popcorn. It's tempting to have something done in a lot of fried oil. In other words, he's doubling down. I mean, the audacity, right? Like when told by the betters, when told by the journalists, look, you're wrong, okay? You're absolutely, just shut up. He brings analytics. Who does that? Who brings analytics to the table? What type of a monster? Look here. He also said that the United States had more of a problem with COVID due to obesity-related comorbidities like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure. Shouldn't be allowed to speak. Shouldn't be allowed to communicate. When people are allowed to communicate, when they are given the freedom, the liberty to speak, they do harm. It's scientifically proven now. Time and time again. I gave you 3 examples. All of them direct to this. So the only possible solution, make sure everyone is mute. And then we can finally live in a very progressive and forward-thinking society. Anyway, now that we are done with the most important issues of our society in 2020, we can go down to the less important ones, such as health. Right? Health is not as important as racism, but it's a second step. Apparently, officials urge families to pass on holiday tradition of eating raw meat sandwiches. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services, time for our annual reminder, wow, they do this every year, that there's one hashtag holiday tradition you need to pass on. Raw meat sandwiches, sometimes called tiger meat or cannibal sandwiches, have many people from Wisconsin considering them to be a holiday tradition. But eating them passes a threat for salmonella, Escherichia coli, Campylobacter, and Listeria, bacteria that can make you sick. And no, it doesn't matter where you buy your beef. Reminder, ground beef should always be cooked to an internal temperature of 160 Fahrenheit. And you can find more holiday food safety tips. Now, they're absolutely right. You will get sick if you're eating this, unless you have like the world's best immune system. Why are people doing this? The Wisconsin Health Department website notes that there have been 8 outbreaks in the state since 1986, linked to people eating raw ground beef dish. In December 1994, there was a salmonella outbreak affecting more than 150 people. Why are you people in love with the toilet seat? Like, why do you want the toilet so much? What is this even tasty? Like, at this point, why do you... You know what? I can't even. In other news in the medical field, virginity tests are being offered to women at the UK medical clinics. Women are being offered controversial virginity tests at medical clinics in the UK. Why are they being controversial? I mean, it's a cultural tradition in the United Kingdom, isn't it? It just shows that the people care about the rule of God. And God says that women need to be pure at the wedding. So, why is it controversial all of a sudden? But apparently the probe by the BBC Newsbeat and one to offer the service between £150 to £300. Reporters also found the number of private clinics advertising the virginity repair or hymen repair surgery. See? With new problems comes new solutions. The World Health Organization and the United Nations wants to see the tests banned as they consider them a violation of human rights. Which one? The virginity repair or the one to test for virginity? But okay, now, all jokes aside, I have a curiosity. What if a person claims to have had sex against their will? And you need a medical expert in order to figure out if it happened or not, so that the evidence can be used in a case against the person, right? Because you want the person behind bars. If the tests are banned and illegal, wouldn't that create new problems? Again, I don't know. I'm not a person that can think for myself. All I want to know is, if I identify as a woman, can I get one of these hymen repair surgeries in the United Kingdom from 1,500 to 3,000 pounds? I mean, 1,500 pounds, that's a steal right there. That's a bargain. Now, I saved the best for last. The last comes from the New York Times. I mean, when you say the New York Times, people just stop what they are doing and they listen. They open their ear holes because the New York Times is the only authoritative source that can discern right from wrong. When you don't know anything about morality, do you know where you go? Not to the New York Times, because they have more important things to do. You first go to the fact checkers, to social media, and then if you can't get the answer there, you go to the Young Turks and CNN. And if you can't get the answer there, then you go to the New York Times. It's the most authoritative of the authoritative sources. And in an article, they try to explain why the CDC chose to de-emphasize the elderly from getting a vaccine, because this could have saved lives. And here we have an expert, okay? One Harold Schmidt, PhD, Assistant Professor, Department of Medical Ethics and Health Policy. Who can be more authoritative than this authoritative person? And he answers. And Harold Schmidt explains why the elderly have to go to the back of the bus, because older populations are whiter. Dr. Schmidt said, society is structured in a way that enables them to live longer. Instead of giving additional health benefits to those who already had more of them, we can start to level the playing field by a bit. So, in other words, if he's white, he ain't right. Now, in the same article from the New York Times, Mark Lipstick, an infectious disease epidemiologist at Harvard, the School of Public Health, argued that teachers should not be included as essential workers if a central goal of the committee is to reduce health inequities. Teachers have middle-class salaries, are often very, very white and they have college degrees. Of course, they should be treated better, but they are not amongst the most mistreated of workers. However, again, a little bit of a controversy because now you have another expert that disagrees with the previous expert. The experts are not in a consensus. There is no harmony. When you talk about disproportionate impact and you're concerned about people getting back into the labor force, many are mothers and they will have a harder time if their children don't have a reliable place to go, she said. And if you think generally about people who have jobs where they can't telework, they are disproportionately black and brown, and they'll have more of a challenge when the childcare is an issue. In other words, to translate what the expert has said, they agree that because teachers are very white, they should go to the back of the bus when it comes to getting the vaccine. However, they should be an exception because they overwhelmingly work with black and brown kids who would be affected. So because of their contribution to society, we have to reconsider about putting them in front of the line. This is so progressive. Wow, I have tears coming from my... You can't see it because I usually don't put a webcam here, but I'm literally crying. Cries of happiness and joy that the New York Times is allowing these experts to talk to people like myself to understand where I fit in the world. To just tell me about my privilege and the fact that when it comes to healthcare, I should just take a step back. You know, my mother should also take a step back. My grandmother, back of the bus. I mean, you know what? I understand. I understand. But one thing is that I don't understand. Should Bill Gates get the vaccine or not? Should he be in front? Because he's an elderly guy, right? Doesn't have the appropriate skin color. What? How does the New York Times think that Bill Gates should be? Front of the bus or back of the bus? Because I think his contribution to humanity is way too big. I mean, he already gave us this wonderful vaccine. I think he should take it. He should be one of the first people to take it as a reward. But, you know, unfortunately, the New York Times doesn't elaborate, so I don't know what to think. I'll just allow Bill Gates to tell me how he thinks.
President-elect Biden joined with former Presidents Obama and Bush and Clinton, suggesting that they would all take the vaccine publicly. Are you considering doing the same?
No, I'll do the same. When it's my turn, I'm not going to budge. But when my turn comes up, I will visibly take the vaccine because I think that it's a benefit to all people to not be transmitting.
Well, here we go. Crisis averted. The man doesn't want to cut in line. He's not going to contradict the experts at the New York Times. He's going to be like, when it's my turn, I will take it. Minorities first. And after that, I will... I respect the fact that he doesn't want to step on the toes of the New York Times. But you know what? Like, maybe we can look at someone else that's very deserving of taking the vaccine. You know what? The Pfizer CEO. Pfizer CEO, right? Like, does he deserve it? Because again, like, massive contributions for humankind. Pfizer CEO hasn't gotten his vaccine yet, saying he doesn't want to cut in line. You know, if I was a skeptical person, which I am not, but if I was a skeptical person, I would say that these gentlemen might be a little racist, not a lot, a little bit, because you see, if you actually want to tackle inequality, you would look at the income of the people. Like, doesn't matter what race they are. It's like, let's look at the income. How much are you earning? Where do you live? What is your education? And if you wanted to tackle health inequality, you would go around like that. But these gentlemen are stereotyping, and they are encouraging, in their words, not mine, black and brown people to be the first that take the medication. Now, again, at the med school, the first that take the medication are usually the lab rats. But I would never imply something like this because I'm not a skeptical person. You know, of course, this is to tackle inequality. It's got no nefarious reason behind it. I mean, when we're talking about life or death medication, these people just talk about race, but they're not racist. You know, this is just progressive. It's progressive thinking. It's the correct way of analyzing a solution. Because again, the New York Times, expert. Who am I to disagree? But hey, let me know what you think. I'll be seeing you guys in the comment section. And hopefully, now that we got a vaccine, this picture here, this joke here is going to die in the past, right?